recently led an inclusion practice with the Marga program that I'm teaching for. They are in the um, year of Marga that's all about compassion practices, and they use these practices as a core part of that program. And so I revisited Lama John's new book, which we're all familiar with. And, every time I read this book, something else jumps out at me in its significance in a way that I just hadn't appreciated before. And so, what I wanted to do was lead this inclusion practice that he teaches, and to just to emphasize some things that I'm newly seeing or newly recognizing or appreciating the value of this practice. So I'm reading from his chapter. So this is page 118, 119, if anybody wants to know. But it's in the chapter on the inclusion practice, the inclusive mode practice. Under the vastness of the love we cultivate is the title of that section. I've got my computer glasses on, so I have to hold the book at a computer distance here. Many people, after they have long familiarized themselves with that all-inclusive aspect of the inclusive mode meditation, find that the receptive mode of meditation within a field of care then also becomes more meaningful and powerful. Why? The fact that many other persons have been holding us and our whole world in unconditioned love and compassion becomes more real to us as we regularly experience ourselves holding all others in that way within the inclusive meditation. In traditional terms, such persons have been referred to as Buddhas, bodhisattvas, saints, spiritual ancestors, and such. Beings who have so fully realized the qualities of enlightenment or become so transparent to the divine that they've become conduits of a limitlessly inclusive, unconditioned powers of love, compassion, and wisdom that embrace all others, including all of us. In Buddhist terms, the actualized Buddha nature of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas resonate with our own Buddha nature. The energies of their love and wisdom empowering our Buddha nature to awaken. Realize, in light of this inclusive meditation, that we have been held in love, compassion, and wisdom long before we realized it, and then to become receptive to that pervasive, unconditioned, and unchanging power of love greatly empowers our own practice of extending love, literally to all others. It is to become newly conscious in our own experience of a vast spiritual field of love, compassion, and wisdom, and to learn to rely on it to empower our practice. Ultimately, through this inclusive mode practice, we are learning to become an extension of that spiritual field by joining the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, saints, or spiritual ancestors in holding the whole world in unconditional powers of care. So that's what really struck me. Really, Lama John has been talking more about we need to do inclusive practice, and I think that's why. I think that's a really significant reason why. And so I've been contemplating a few points around this. So inclusive mode creates this feedback loop, empowering our field of care, as he just said in that reading. And what I've been reflecting on, how this actually might be happening, is how inclusivity is actually an aspect of nature mind. Greater inclusivity is unbounded, unconfined capacity, which is the third aspect of nature of mind. And also very much united and similar to or alike the openness aspect, the first aspect, openness, emptiness. It's unlimited, unconfined. At a recent retreat that I was on, Lama John, he asked us to pay more attention to this aspect, this third aspect of nature of mind. And I feel like this is one of the ways we experience it in our practice and how it empowers the wisdom aspect to be permeating us through our field of care. So and this is my sense that this inclusive mode helps us deepen this. It takes us from the deepening mode to a deeper deepening or recognition or experiential knowledge of wisdom and compassion or bodhicitta. Because the way we practice this practice, wishing beings deeply well, upholding their deepest potential, etc., um, in this way, this inclusivity is naturally a type of bodhicitta. So this sense of it in my own experience of how we do the practice, how we deepen into this field, become more and more inclusive, wishing beings free, wishing them deeply well, and realizing that this is that unbounded capacity. This insight has led me to intuit that aspect of this unconfined capacity of nature of mind is deeply imbued with bodhicitta. And just let that sink in, the impact of that. So again, all of this is tying back to something else that Lama John's been recently talking about. He recently shared on a Wednesday night that the field of care and compassionate presence to feelings, that space that we get into, functions as an approximation of nature of mind. And my sense is that this inclusive mode practice functions to deepen us, and then that basically progressively impregnates our awareness of the depth and unconfined capacities, deepening the wisdom aspect. In our field of care, we become sensitized to it through our own experience. So even though it's a relative or an approximation of nature of mind, it's become potentiated with this rich sense that we can feel of the potential of wisdom and compassion of bodhicitta. Um, it feels pregnant with it to me. And that becomes really, really empowering to us. And it becomes a source of transmission. So my sense is that inclusivity is a direct path to deepening in nature of mind. And all in all, and Lama John has said this many times, it's actually nature of mind itself is what we actually take refuge in, and in our own innate Buddha nature. So I wanted to just reflect on some of those thoughts as we go into this practice, but I also wanted to invite everyone to think of ways this has happened for you in your own experience, in your own practice. What touchstones or moments of practice, caring moments of touching in with teachings or teachers, or senses of transmission from a teacher, glimpses that have empowered your refuge field that you take into your practice and that you can take into your practice today. And I'd like to share a story of my own practice experience that's had a profound impact on my practice. And actually, one of the experiences that led me to study and practice within a Buddhist Sangha in the first place, this goes back to way back to my early years of meditation practice. Before I'd been introduced to Buddhism, I was practicing with a teacher from the Theosophical Society. And I think it was a friend in that group who sent me an email with an excerpt from Sogyal Rinpoche's book, The Tibetan Book of Living and Dying, with his version of Tonglen. And, I didn't know what I was doing, but I read it and I did the practice to the best of my ability, my capacity at that time. And I had an experience that's been with me ever since and has grown and deepened in meaning, and particularly in terms of this sense of empowering my field of care. Um, I had this experience of a presence of a field of beings. I had the sense that they were always practicing Tonglen timelessly. I called them in my mind Lords of Compassion. I didn't really know the term bodhisattvas. Um, but what really touched me was that I had this felt sense that they were holding me in sympathetic joy, that they were joyous that I was doing this practice with them, that I had joined them in this practice. And to this day, I get goosebumps thinking about that. It wasn't like a vision or anything really impressive. This was just a very quiet, gentle experience, but I felt it. I felt that I was seen and held and appreciated, and that there was this joy that I was doing this practice. And I invite us all to go into practice with the sense that every time we practice for the benefit of all beings, that the bodhisattvas feel joy. Settling into your body, into your field of care, into our field, into the refuge field, we all beings. We shall always go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha till fully enlightened. Beings and received into this field with joy, feeling the blessings permeating throughout your whole being, seen and held and loved in your deepest, deepest self, the depth of your being. Joining the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, This field that's pregnant with love and wisdom, holding us, holding us and all beings, permeating us, resonating with our own innate Buddha nature. How does that feel in your body? Resting here, breathing here, become unified with this field. Recalling our intention, dedication, that our practice might be benefit of all to all beings, aiding with the intention of the field, that we might awaken for the benefit of all beings. By including all parts of ourself that may be struggling or distracted, any difficult sensations in your body, feelings that are coming up, giving them all the space that they need, resting here, just letting it be. Any sensations in the body, any feelings, any thoughts, any distractions held in this field and allowed to be just as they are. He's holding us and all parts of us that arise, resting in this healing warmth, this deep acceptance. Deeply accepting where we are right now in our path, seeing our deepest potential, seeing right through to our deepest nature, our Buddha nature, and holding it, resonating with it, empowering it. Might bring to mind a dear one, include them in this field, through to their deepest potential, wishing them deeply well, being, holding that potential, their ultimate potential. And seeing them in their deep worth. They also know they're held in love. You can include more loved ones, dear ones, close members of your family, your social circle, as you feel ready. Wishing them deepest well-being, seeing them in their deep worth, including them in this pervasive field of care. Knowing they've always been held. But now your wish for their deepest well-being is part of this field too. Them in their deep worth, holding that in them. Now you might bring to mind groups of people in parts of the world where your heart is drawn to their suffering, victims of oppression or war, wishing them deeply well, deeply free of suffering. Putting them in this field of care, along with the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and this compassion that's always pouring forth. So included are the perpetrators of oppression and war. May they be deeply free. May they realize their deepest potential, their deep worth, their innate goodness. That include all sentient beings, the planet as a whole, the ecosystem that supports all life. May it be deeply well, healthy, harmonious, supporting deep well-being of all beings. Now dropping all visualizations and just resting in the resonance of this wish, in this open, spacious, aware, unconfined capacity of compassion and bodhicitta. Take refuge here. Deepen here. The feelings that arise are naturally included in this spacious expanse. No efforting on our part. Rest in knowing that this compassionate holding continues, omnipresent, unbounded, timeless, and the essential nature of close by dedicating the power of this practice. May the pure, brilliant sun of bodhicitta dawn in each and every heart and mind, dispelling the darkness of suffering and confusion unstoppably until all are fully illumined, awakened, joyful, and free. This just keeps on going.